Okay, hello everybody. My name is Lucas, and welcome to the first episode of the Great Southern Scoreboard podcast. I'm so excited to be with you guys. Today we're going to talk about the NRL, the State of Origin, and maybe a little bit about the World Cup. So let's get right into it. Okay, so as I said, I'm so excited to be with you guys. My name is Lucas, and this is the first official episode of the podcast of the Great Southern Scoreboard podcast. And as I said in that little bit of an intro, I've got two main things I want to talk about today, being the NRL, where we're at now with the NRL, and obviously tomorrow, at the time of my recording, it is tomorrow, is the State of Origin game. Game 2 down in the MCG. I do want to talk about that, but I don't think I could get away with recording this first episode of this podcast without talking a little bit about the World Cup over in the US and Mexico. Now, I think I'm going to try and aim to talk about this a little bit at the start of every episode, and then maybe at the end of the group stage, do a sort of dedicated episode to it, and talking about what we saw of the group stage, predictions for the rest of the World Cup, because I think that's a great point to start making predictions. But I thought, why not start today off with a little bit of just talk about the World Cup, what we're looking at the moment, and how the Socceroos went. So, obviously, the other day, Sunday, if you weren't watching it or you're not up to date with the Australian national football team, or as they're known, the Socceroos, we got up 2-0 against Turkey. We got the win, and that was incredible. Turkey, or Turkiet, whatever you want to call it. I think I'm just going to go with Turkey because that's what comes out of my mouth easier. But yeah, we got the win against them, 2-0 win. Great win to start off the World Cup. I think Australia needed that to, really have some confidence in this group. Obviously, we've got the USA, Turkey, and Paraguay in our group. USA with what some could argue is a little bit of an advantage being on home soil, but I'll talk about that in just a moment. I want to touch a little bit on this game from the other day. Now, the stats, when you look at them, I'm just looking through Google stats here. Turkey looks like they have a lot more of the stats in their favor, in complete honesty. If we're looking at it, Australia had 8 shots with 4 on target. Turkey had 28 shots with 7 on target. And somehow, they didn't even get one of those 7 or even one of those 28 to go in goal. They had 63 possession, 91% pass accuracy. But to their credit, Australia did play very well. And I think Australia had some sort of like motivation behind it, right? If you weren't keeping up to date with the World Cup before it started, especially this game, the Turkish captain came out in the media. It was all over the news here, pretty much saying that with Turkey, they're going to smoke Australia. It's like the day before the game, sorry. And it was just like, yeah, no, they got nothing on us. We're just a better team. We're just going to win. We're going to smoke them. And yeah, it's just going to be a great way to start a World Cup. And then for them to come down to losing 2-0, bit of a rough downfall, you might call it, for these guys. They came with quite a confident start to their World Cup journey. Thought that they were going to get an easy win against Australia, but no, we're Australians. We're not going to give anyone an easy win in this competition, are we? And, I'm pretty stoked with how Australia went. I think a lot of people were underestimating how our men's team were going to go. Obviously, we came from not too long ago having the Matildas playing here at home. Went through pretty deep, had a pretty great deep run in the FIFA Women's World Cup, and unfortunately losing out in that penalty shootout. But Australians were just behind their squad the whole way. I was behind them, and my whole family were behind them. My friends, like anyone that lived here in Australia, knew about the Matildas, knew what was happening with the Matildas, and the Socceroos, they've come out and they've come out with guns blazing and shown that we should be talking about them too. We should be talking about the fact that, they beat Turkey not 5-0, shivers, 2-0. And and they've shown up the squad that were roasting them before the game, and I think that's a huge achievement for our guys, especially after a little bit what's been seen as a bit of a drought for the Australian men's football team. They've really shown up and shown out to make quite a significant start to their World Cup. Obviously, there's a fair ways to go. And we can't make presumptions as to what the rest of the World Cup's going to look like from the first game of every team. Like we saw Germany beat Curacao 7-1 yesterday morning. Now, obviously, a lot of people are just going, well, Curacao's a new debuting team in the World Cup. Like, they're not a new country. Or, sorry, they are a new country. And, it's no real showing in the game. The fact that they've made the World Cup, I think that in itself is a huge achievement for a little country like Curacao. Obviously, getting drawn against Germany for your first ever World Cup game is quite rough. And in complete honesty, did we expect them to beat out Germany? Probably not. Germany's one of those stronger teams. But you look at the same thing. You look at Spain this morning. This morning we're looking at Spain drawing 0-0 to Cabo Verde. And we're like, well, I so apologize if I've mispronounced that, if we have any of those fans out there. But Spain drawing 0-0 it's one of those things that we look at it and we go, wait, really? You got to kind of double check, do a double take on it, because Spain are the favourites to win the World Cup, at least from what I've heard. And a lot of the people I've talked to, people are like, yeah, I think Spain will win the whole thing. Yeah, it'll probably be Spain, maybe Argentina again. I don't know. But they all seem to be coming to a consensus around Spain. And so them drawing 0-0 to start is a pretty interesting, sort of start for them. But as I said, I don't think we can really make an assumption around performance and how this World Cup's going to go and who's going to win and who's going to lose and all that from the first games. Like, Germany is not going to get the opportunity to win 7-1 for the rest of the World Cup. Like, I don't think that is going to be something that we're going to see for the rest of the World Cup, from them at least. They're going to have a hard slog once they get themselves out of the group stage. I think any team that gets themselves out of the group stage is going to have a hard slog. We got some really great teams in the World Cup this year, some really strong squads, and you got your France, your Senegals, your Argentinas, your Portugals, your Englands, Croatias. The guys that have typically always been strong are still looking strong, and I don't think that that's going to change for a little while now, but I do want to touch a bit on Australia's upcoming games, because let's come back to Australia. We've got USA on Saturday, the 20th of June, 5 a.m. Australian time. And I actually don't know what we're going to be looking at here. I think it'll be a good game. I think it'll be a really great game to watch. I think it'll be a close game. But the US do look good. And I said I'd touch on this a bit earlier. There's something about playing in your home country that just for some reason motivates you and pushes you to be so much better, right? We saw it with the Matildas a few years back when they played here in the Australian New Zealand FIFA Women's World Cup. They played phenomenally. And there's a thing about when you're playing in your home country, the people that are in the crowds, 90% of the people in the crowds are from your country. And they're pushing you and come on, you're going to be amazing sort of thing, and cheering you on. And they're the loudest people in the crowd. They're the most eccentric. And there's something about being in your home country that just motivates you to play your best. And we saw that with their 4-1 win over Paraguay the other day. And so I think it's going to be a tough game for Australia. I think the USA are going to look good this whole World Cup. I'm not sure whether we'll see them go through to win the whole thing. I don't think there are many sort of presumptions that I can make now about teams that I think could win it. Like I'd love to see a team like Australia go far or deep into the competition and really challenge some of those big name teams like your Argentinas and your Spains and your Germanys. But I think it's still going to be a great World Cup. I'm really excited to watch some more of the games. But yeah, no, I think the Australia-America game is going to be interesting. I think that's going to be Australia's biggest challenge in this World Cup group stage. Because, it's the team in first at the moment. Now, obviously, Paraguay had an unfortunate start getting drawn America for game one. And you never know how they're going to perform over the next few games, especially against Paraguay and then against Turkey next, and then Australia last on the 26th of June. But I think that the USA is going to be Australia's hardest matchup in this group stage. There's a sort of rivalry between the two countries in sport. Typically, especially with basketball, you see the US and Australia going at it each year, and in soccer or football, whatever we want to call it, I think it's going to be a tough matchup. Australia looked good against Turkey, and USA looked good against Paraguay, and I think that this is going to be a really awesome atmosphere in the States and Mexico and Canada. I think that it's going to be a great atmosphere for those teams, and they're going to have a great time over there playing. And I think we can. I'd love to see Australia go far. I think we can keep our spot at in second. For those of you that may not have looked at the table, it's the US in first, Australia in second, Turkey in third, Paraguay in fourth. And most of the stuff that's splitting the teams up right now is just point differential. The thing keeping Turkey ahead of Paraguay is 1 point, and 1 point between USA and Australia. And yeah, I think that's what it's going to come down to in the end is point differential. If the USA beat Australia and then lose to Turkey, and Australia beat Paraguay, I think it's 100% just going to come down to that point differential. So getting up 2-0 is a great way to start our World Cup. To start the journey, you get 2 points on the board quickly. The USA are only 3 because they did have 1 goal scored against them by Paraguay in that 4-1 victory. So yeah, I think it's an achievable goal for the Australians to see themselves going to the next round. And but I'm also not going to make any assumptions because as I've said a number of times now, I don't think you can make a true presumption of how teams are going to perform from the first group stage games. I don't think that that's a valid way of, I guess, telling us where we're going to be coming out of the group stage. I think the group stages could be tough for most teams, and I think we're going to see some really well-tested teams coming into the next round of games. And I think, to be honest, I'm really excited. I'm just really excited for this World Cup. And I want you guys to put your comments down below. I'm going to keep saying this around each topic, but put your comments down below in comment sections or email me. You can find my email in the description of the podcast, in the description of this episode, or just email me at info@greatsouthern.scoreboard@gmail.com if you just prefer to hear someone tell you. That's it. You can email me there. Email your thoughts, questions, queries. I'll reply to them as best I can, with as much of my knowledge as I can. My knowledge around football is a little bit limited, but I do have family members that are really switched on when it comes to soccer and football. So we might be seeing them make an appearance in some future episodes as we talk a bit deeper about the World Cup. But yeah, I don't want to go too deep into World Cup right now because I don't think there's too much that I can dive into. But and I did dedicate this episode for the NRL. So please put down your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you might want to see in a future episode. I'm very excited for what's to come. But I think it's time to move onwards and upwards into some of our thoughts on the NRL. Okay, so the NRL, the National Rugby League. For those of you that don't know what it is that are listening, it's certainly been quite an interesting start, to say the least. I know I found it an interesting start. I've been super entertained by how this start of season has gone. Obviously, we're a little bit over halfway now. We've just gone through round 15. We're about to start round 16 on Thursday. But yeah, it's been quite a start. I got the table in front of me here, and I just want to kind of break it down with you guys, talk to you guys about my thoughts on each team, what I think they're going to need for those teams that are in the top 8 to stay in the top 8, and for the teams that are outside the top 8, what they're going to need to do to get themselves into the top 8. And one of the things I want to kind of preface is that I'm going to try and stay as unbiased as possible. I'm a Dragons fan. Yeah, go ahead, roast me in the comments or in my emails. Go for it. But yeah, I'm a Dragons fan, and so I'm a little bit disappointed with how we've started the year, but I'm proud of our front office, and I'm going to talk about that a bit later. But I'm going to try and stay as unbiased as possible, especially when it comes to just in a bit. I'm going to touch on and talk a bit about State of Origin tomorrow. And yeah, I'm a Blues fan. I've grown up in New South Wales. I'm a New South Welshman. And so I'm going to try and stay as unbiased as possible. Give the Morons as much of the credit that they deserve, because they are a very good team. But we'll talk about that in just a bit. I want to talk about the ladder, the table. NRL, round 15 completed. Penrith still in number 1 position. They've lost 1 game the whole year. That deserves a round of applause. As much as I am tired of Penrith winning, you got to give them credit for the team they put together. They are an incredible team, incredible dynamic at that club. They've put together an incredible string of games, and they just look classy, They just look very, very, very classy. And so I think when it comes down to it, when we look at performances in games and who's going to perform well, I think you can always guarantee Penrith are going to put together a pretty good game. They're always going to put together an entertaining game, and something that I'm always looking forward to watching a little bit of, hey. But then you got in second place, you got the Warriors. Again, credit where credit's due. They've put together a great start to the season. Obviously, injuries are going to kind of kill them towards the end of the year. I'm not saying that they're not going to have a good end to the year. They've shown that they've got a great team outside of their injuries, but obviously losing Roger Tuivasa-Sheck for the rest of the season, and obviously Tana Boyd to injury, I think that's going to hinder them just a bit. We obviously saw them play up against Penrith recently, and look, they can contest with Penrith. I think Penrith just needs to have a really bad game to lose poorly. That's a big thing, and I think, as I say, Penrith just look classy like a lot of the time. Whenever they're on the field, they do look very, very classy. But credit where credit's due, the Warriors have done very well. Luke Metcalf is getting the opportunity to step up while Tana Boyd's out before he heads off to the St. George Illawarra Dragons next season. But yeah, he's definitely going to show up for them, I think, and some of those other boys from New Zealand, those New Zealand born and bred boys coming through the Warriors ranks. They're good players. They've got some great talent behind them. Khan Pereira is looking really good, and some of those other boys, they look classy. They look good. In third place and fourth place, you've obviously got the Seagulls and the Dolphins. Now, these have actually been a bit of a surprise to me, in complete honesty. I don't think I expected to see those two in the top 5, especially not seeing the Seagulls in third. But, since signing Kieran Foran on as an interim coach after, sacking, I think it was Anthony Seibold earlier in the year, they've played great. Fosball has done an incredible thing for Manly fans. If you're a Manly fan out there, let me know. What are your opinions on how you guys have played this year? What are your opinions on how you're going to go in finals? Finals footy, can you win the whole thing? Is Tommy Turbo going to stay healthy for the whole season? And I think that's the biggest question. I think that's the biggest thing why he's not consistent in making Origin, and why really before Fosball, you guys have always been like a borderline top 8 team. Like, you've always been okay, but you've never been like across that threshold where you're like a premiership contending team. But I think we're finally seeing that with Kieran Foran, and I am so stoked for Manly fans with that, because they deserve it. They've had such a long drought of just hard seasons, and the hard thing is obviously injuries, and we see that across the whole league. If you have severe injuries of your star players, your teams are inevitably just going to struggle dramatically, and that's what we have seen with the Seagulls. You've struggled without Tommy Turbo. He's statistically a great player, but never available for you guys to play because he's always finding himself with another injury. But I think we're finally going to see a good long run with Tommy Turbo, and I think him and his brothers, the three of them, they're all going to click very well at that club. They're all going to play really well for the rest of this year. Not sure whether right now you're a premiership winning team, but give yourselves a season. Obviously, with Kieran Foran, he signed on to the end of 2029, I believe. He signed a 3-year contract. He's there to stay. And I think he's going to sign an extension anyways on the end of that contract when you get to the end of it, because he's shown that he's backing the club. He's passionate about the club. He's passionate about the players. And he's pushing them to win games. He's pushing them to play their best. And we've seen that recently, obviously, with them with an 8-5 record. With 2 buys in hand. Dolphins, one of the more inconsistent teams I've found in the NRL. Obviously, they had huge promise coming into the league when they opened up. They were going to have the great Wayne Bennett as a head coach, and they never really crossed into that premiership winning level until recently. We've seen them have some great performances over the past couple of weeks. Obviously, getting up against the Roosters last week, 48-10. And yeah, they just look good. The Hammer looks good. He's always looked good though. And I think the rest of the team is starting to really come together around each other and really create a great atmosphere for the team. And I think that's going to make all the difference. You got the Sharks, the Roosters, the Knights, and the Rabbitohs rounding out your top 8. Roosters had a great start. They were in 3rd not too long ago, I believe. It's interesting. They're down to 6th now. They've just had a rough set of games. Obviously going from dropping 60 on the Dragons to now losing 48-10 against the Dolphins. It's hard. It's really hard when you lose 48-10 against a team that has been a little bit inconsistent in recent years. They have come together and created an incredible squad to start this year. But, yeah, it is a bit hard. Now, the real question for a lot of these guys, Sharks obviously in 5th. They're in that nice middle point. Can they stay consistent? It's a big thing for Sharks, Roosters, Knights, and Rabbitohs. Can they stay consistent enough to keep winning games, stringing together winning games, but keep your spots in the top 8? Because the bottom 9, I'll run through it quickly. You got Tigers in 10, Storm 11, Bulldogs, Raiders, Broncos, Eels, Titans, and the Dragons rounded out in 17th. Some of those teams have real capacity to jump into the top 8. They can string. We know that some of those teams can string together a great set of games. The Tigers were up in 2nd earlier this year. The Tigers had a great start. The Storm had a pretty hard start, but are finding themselves pushing back. Raiders and Broncos, they obviously are premiers and premiership winners last year. And the Bulldogs, a team that just has bought an incredibly good number of players for their squad. And on paper, look incredible. And the Cowboys obviously coming in at that 9th spot. Forgot about them. Sorry, Cowboys fans. They actually do look good as well. They look consistent. They're putting together some good games. Scotty Drinkwater showing off as he does. Showing off that he's a good player, that he deserves his spots. That he deserves this contract that he's gotten from the Dragons. But yeah, I think the big question is, can those boys who are just below the top 8 there, can they string together some quality games that are going to push them into, the top 8 in just right over, or are they going to struggle? And the big question for those bottom 3 or 4 top 8 teams is, can they stay consistent enough to string together some great games for them? and stay in the top 8 and keep those guys who are contesting them out of the top 8. If we come down to the bottom, Broncos, poor Broncos, poor Broncos. I won't stay on them for too long just to keep the Broncos fans from experiencing too much heat. You guys have had a bit of a rough couple games, obviously, with the loss at Suncorp, home against the Dragons. You almost come back and win it, but not enough for the Dragons. One winning game. Then obviously the Titans the next week at home. You lose again, another tight game. It's just a bit of an unfortunate 2 games for you. For the 2 lesser quality squads of this season to beat out the premiers of last season, it's really hard for them. And obviously seeing the Raiders down in 13th as well, they were the minor premiers. I think both of those teams, the Broncos and the Raiders, I think they've got teams that are quality enough to string together some incredible games and get back into some finals footy. I don't think that they're premiership winning teams this year. I don't think the Broncos are going to have enough left in the tank to push themselves up there. But like push themselves all the way, especially when you got Penrith daunting on the other end. But I think they can get themselves into finals footy. They just need to they just need to come together as a team and properly click, properly string together some great games. They need it. They need it bad, especially teams like the Raiders. They haven't been in the top 8 for a little while now, hurting a bit down there in Canberra. They just need a win, don't they? Then obviously your Eels. I don't even know what to say about the Eels. Yeah, I'm going to move on. The Titans and the Dragons. They just had a bit of a hard start, especially the Dragons, losing all those games to start the year. Obviously getting them the 1 win, turned around, and we all thought, and myself included as a Dragons fan, surely this is the start of a great winning streak, only to lose immediately afterwards. Titans looking good. Keanu Kinney at fullback. I rate him. I really rate him as a fullback. I think he's a great young player coming up through the ranks, showing that he has some real great talent. And I think we could see that if the Titans can click as a team, if the Titans as a team can come together, and as I've said with most of these teams, string together some good quality games, I think we can see them coming up as a nice up and coming team. Then obviously the Dragons in 17th. They've had a hard start to the year, but I do think that some of their signings for next season are going to be good. Obviously, the most recent being Connor Watson as kind of a leapfrog point to PNG Chiefs, being the 3rd official signing for PNG. I do slightly want to touch on PNG. Coming into the league in 2028, already having made 3 signings of Jerome Luai, Alex Johnston, and Connor Watson. It's quite the mix. I think Alex Johnston, I don't think has much left in him. I don't think there's much left in the tank for Connor Watson, and I apologise to all you Rabbitohs fans and future PNG Chiefs fans. I think he's... And, every player's going to get to that age where you got to question whether they've got much left in the tank for another season. But yeah, I think he's going to be at that point soon. But yeah, Connor Watson going there is a pretty cool pickup. And for the Dragons, that's going to be huge. I think it's going to give Jacob Little a great mentor. Obviously, Cookie has been an incredible starting mentor for him, but he obviously hasn't been able to play because of some injuries. Poor Jacob Little. But when he comes back and he starts playing some more minutes again, I think ending this year with Damien Cook as a great mentor, and then starting next year and getting to do next year with Connor Watson gives him a bit of variety of what looks good on plays, what looks quality, what are we going to see that is going to bring you to your A game. I think we're going to see Jacob Little really break out in his game soon, and I think that's going to be awesome for the club. Obviously, Philip Sami from the Titans, one of the most consistent wingers in the league. Genuine, I'm calling it. I think he is one of the most consistent wingers in the NRL. And he's just a top bloke, isn't he? And yeah, that's a great pickup for the Dragons. Scott Drinkwater obviously is huge coming in to play that fullback position. I don't hate Gutho. And I don't hate Gutho. I like him. He's been a great player. He's a great captain. Great vibe for the team. Great mentorship for some of the younger blokes. I don't think he's fit. I don't think he's fitting properly in that fullback spot. I don't know where he will be moved to when Scott Drinkwater comes in, because there's no way you can bring Drinkwater off the bench for Gutho. I think you might move Gutho into the centers or maybe move Gutho to the bench. I don't know. But my biggest thought is I don't think you can keep Tyrell Sloan in the squad, but I'm not going to go into that because I have lots of opinions around this. Then obviously Keon Kulumatangi from the Rabbitohs as well. That was the signing last year or beginning of this season. That's going to be huge, bringing in a nice big fella, young big fella as well, who's an Origin caliber player. Again, going to be a great addition to that young forward pack. The Dragons' young forward pack with the Couchmans, Dylan Egan, Hamish Stewart. Oh, it's all those Gerringong boys. And I will say this time and time again whenever I talk about the Dragons. They've got to have... Obviously, Penrith has one of the best young development squads in the comp, probably the best. But the Dragons have got to be up there. The boys that come through Gerringong and are coming through the Steelers ranks and then make it to, our first grade team. We've got some great ones who have come through, and I think we're going to see more great ones come through, and I think that's going to make all the difference. So, in just a moment, we're going to go on and talk about the draw for this season. I think that's going to be pretty interesting look, for this week with the draw. So, let's see how it goes. Okay, so the draw. This week, what are we looking at? Teams with the bye. I'm going to start with the teams. We've got Broncos, Para, Bunnies. Sitting with the bye this week, they get the round off. The free 2 points. Something the Dragons really appreciate at this point. But let's have a look at who's playing. Friday night footy, we've got the Knights going up against the Dragons. I won't do the sports bet odds, but I'll kind of just briefly talk about the interesting sort of game. I'll talk about them each in a bit. Saturday footy, we've got the West Tigers going up against the Dolphins, followed by the Titans going up against the Panthers. Sunday, we've got Bulldogs, Seagulls, Warriors, Cowboys, Storm, Raiders, and Roosters, Sharks. So I'm going to come back to the start here. Knights, Dragons. Knights look good. I do rate the Knights as a team. Callum Ponga, great fullback, great young group going through there. I do think that they can be a bit inconsistent sometimes, but I also think that they can be a great team. And I think if the Dragons can put together two good halves, like two good quality halves, I think that will be a great game to watch. A great game contending. But if the Dragons can't put together two halves of the same quality, and when I say the same quality, I mean of high quality footy, I don't think we're going to see them win. We saw that last week. They put together a great first half and then couldn't continue for the second half. And they had a horrendous finish and ended up losing the game. But yeah, if they can put together two great halves, I think both teams, if they can both be consistent for the whole game, we're going to see a great game. But yeah, it'll definitely be interesting. I won't give you guys tips on who I think will win because I'm not that bold. But yeah, we'll see. I'll share my opinion for each game on what I think it'll be like. The Saturday game, we look at the West Tigers versus Dolphins. Tigers need a win desperately. They've had a rough stint. Great start to the season, then a bit of a rough patch of just not winning much. They've got the squad to win. They've got a great squad. They've got the coach. They've got the players. They're just not putting games together. Really unfortunate loss to the Titans, obviously on Sunday night. Did they play well? 100%. For the whole game, I don't know. I don't think I can. I don't think I can call the whole game that they put together a high quality game of football, unfortunately for them. But they do play well. And if they can, again, they can stay consistent, they'll play a great game. I think that's going to be my thoughts for a lot of these games, is that if you can have a consistent 2-half game, you're going to put together an incredible game. And we're going to have some tight matches. Obviously, the Dolphins are looking very tight, very strong. And I think they'll, again, just put together a good game. But, as I said when I was talking to the table, they can be a bit inconsistent sometimes. And I think if they continue to play inconsistently, they're going to struggle. But they haven't been of recent. And they've put together some great games. And I think this game will be a great contender. The next game on the Saturday is the Titans versus the Panthers. I don't think I have to say too much about this game. As much as I'd love to give credit to the Titans and how well they've played, especially against the Tigers last week, I don't think that it's going to be too much of a difference against the Panthers. The Panthers just play classy football. Classy, tight, just quality footy. And unfortunately, I don't think the Titans are at the level as of right now that they can contend with the Panthers for that. And so I think we're going to see, I'm not going to say blowout. I give the Titans a bit more credit. They're at home. I think they will do their best to contend, but I think the Panthers are just going to be a very strong matchup unless they're going to struggle with some of their Origin boys. Really, it's all dependent on who they bring into their squad for this week and who decides to step up. The final game on the Saturday is the Bulldogs-Seagulls. Again, another tight game. Bulldogs need a win. They're in a very similar position to the Tigers. Had a great start to the year, a not so great second half, or not so great second chunk so far. But I think they're still going to be great. I think they're going to put together some great games soon. Obviously, they're going up against a very strong Fozball that has shown that they are a team to beat. I think that has been a huge part of what Kieran Foran's been trying to do with the club. He's been trying to show everyone, show fans and show other teams that, we're not just a joke of a team. We're a team that can be reckoned with. And congratulations to all you Manly fans out there. You have got a contenders. You've got a contender over the next few years, I think. But yeah, tight game, I think. If the Bulldogs can put together a good game, it'll definitely be a tight game. I don't think it will be a blowout on either way. But yeah, I think it'll be a pretty close game. Coming down to Sunday, we've got Warriors-Cowboys. Cowboys are in 9th. They're not that far off the top 8. And they don't look horrible. They just don't, I think they have the capacity to play finals footy. I don't think that they're a premiership winning team right now, but I think that they have the capacity to play premiership footy. They have the ability to play premiership footy, and I think they will. But they need to make sure that they put some good points on the board. And against the Wars and what they've done over the past couple of weeks, I think it'll be hard. But we know the Cowboys are always up for a challenge, and I think that this game will be a good challenge for them. The next Sunday game is Storm Raiders. Both teams have had a bit of a hard start to the year, in complete honesty. We saw the Storm drop to second last at one point, which I don't think anyone was expecting. And the Raiders obviously being minor premiers last year, sitting in 13th right now. It's a bit hard for them. But I do believe that they can come back. yeah, they just need to really, really get momentum going. They haven't really had much momentum to push them, I guess, going through in this season. I think I personally believe momentum's a huge thing in the footy. To stringing together wins, I think momentum is so important. So again, I think that'll be a tight game. The Storm are looking to push themselves into the top 8. Raiders are looking to get some wins on the board. Yeah, I think it'll be close. And finally, Roosters Sharks, the 5th and 6th matchup in Sydney, in Allianz. I think that's who will be a close game. Those teams are both looking to keep themselves in top 8. Roosters looking to come back after a really hard loss last week. Sharks just looking to stay consistent. Yeah, they're tricky Trindle, looking to show that he deserves his permanent spot in the squad, that he deserves his permanent spot as a kicker. Nico Hines trying to show fans that he can be consistent. Yeah, I think it's just going to be. I think a lot of the games this week are actually going to be really close, really tight matches that are going to cause. Yeah, they're going to cause fans to be on the edge of their seats over these games. I think fans are going to be very tense over this whole week as they watch some of these games because, man, oh man, it's going to be some great matchups. Yeah. So that's the end of our official NRL section, like our regular season section. And so what I want to do now is I do want to touch on the state of origin. This has been my big point for today, and I think I'll talk about this one for a little bit longer because there's a little bit of difference in the squads for this week. We're seeing injuries coming around across both squads, more so in the New South Wales squad. And I want to apologize in advance for the fact that I can't pronounce some of these names. I'm looking at them on my screen here, and I'm seeing some of these names. I'm just like, oh gosh. So I apologize to any Queensland fans out there for the fact that I'll inevitably butcher some of these names. And New South Wales fans, if you're out there listening and I butcher one of your favorite players' names, I'm sorry too. I do want to look at Queensland first. We got the ins and outs. Ezra Mann's out. Gehamat is out. Pat Carrigan's out. Not too many out. Only 3. Pat Carrigan is a big one. He's been in the squad for a number of years, and to see him not be in the squad is going to be a bit different for Queensland fans. So that'll definitely be interesting. And then I think we're going to see some great young blokes coming up. We got Reece Walsh obviously back into the squad. Unfortunately, not getting himself a start. Kalen Ponga's still in there. But it was good to see, and I will touch on this. Seeing Reece Walsh come out the other day out of Queensland's camp and say, I'm just here to do my role, even if that is coming off the bench and just providing that energy. That's what I'm here for, to do that. And I rate that. That's an attitude that I think is so important in State of Origin. You've been selected out of everyone that's ever played their junior football in the nation, in the state of Queensland or the state of New South Wales, but it is a privilege for you to be there. And I don't think you can be, like me personally, I don't think you can come out and be all arrogant and self-centered that if you get selected, you should be getting a start and all these things, because you're still going to play. And you're going to make a difference coming off that bench, especially with Reece Walsh coming off with Lindsay Collins, Trent Liero, Finifukai. I apologize for the mispronunciation of that, and Max Plath. They're going to look good. They're going to be a great bring on for some of those other blokes. When they get tired, they're going to give themselves a bit of a rest while Reece Walsh comes on there and does what Reece Walsh does, as long as he doesn't get injured. I think that's going to be a big thing. Injuries are going to be the biggest question for Origin. Keeping players healthy is going to be what makes the difference for these squads. So as we look down the line, I'm just going to go through all the players and see. So fullback, we've got Kalen Ponga. winger, Selwyn Cobbo, Robert Toyer in the centre, the hammer in at the other centre, Jojo Fafita in at the other winger, Cam Munster, the captain, in at 5'8", with Sam Walker sitting at the halfback, Tommy Flegler in at the prop, Harry Grant, hooker, Tino Fasulmar Ali at the prop, Britton Nakora in the second row, Kurt Capewell in the second row, and Ruben Cotter in at the lock. And those boys I just mentioned before in the interchange. And look, it's not too much of a difference from the first game. And that first game, they played well. Obviously, the Kalen Ponga send-off incident did hurt them a bit in the end of it. And I won't touch on that too much because I know that it's a whole new can of fish that if I open, I'm going to really have some thoughts. But yeah, there's not too much difference. I think, as I said with a lot of the NRL games for this week, I think you're going to have to be consistent every minute of this game. From the moment that first whistle blows to the moment that last whistle blows, you've got to be 110% energy the whole time. And unfortunately, that's gonna drain some of your big stars straight away. But I think it's the only way that we're gonna see sort of a more evenly fought battle. If one team's slacking or lacking a bit more than the other, we're gonna see one team pull ahead and so on and so forth. But yeah, I think Queensland had a bit of difficulty in the last game, especially with the send-off towards the end of being able to hold together a full lineup or hold the New South Wales men away. They were seeing red, as you might call it, the New South Wales men coming into the second half. But yeah, look, I rate the Queensland team. I rate who they put together. I think that they're a great team. I think that they can possibly put together a win. But yeah, it's really all dependent on how consistent they can be and if they all put in the effort. I do want to touch on this briefly because I do also want you guys to provide your thoughts, and that's what the email's there for, and that's also what the comment section's for, is around this new rule with, internationals playing for the New South Wales Blues and Queensland. It's how we got Sam Walker, Adam Fanua-Blake, and some others that I probably can't remember off the top of my head. But I think I'm not going to share too much on it. Because I'm not really sure on my own opinion right now with it. And I'm going to think it out a bit more because I'll probably do another episode and I'll get some more other opinions on here from some people that I know. But yeah, it's definitely a thought that I am curious to what you guys think. And I want you guys that, if you would like to, share what you think about this rule, seeing as, Sam Walker's making a huge difference for Queensland. Valentine Holmes was a great player, but we're not going to see him play because Sam Walker's in that halfback spot and he's the kicker. And so why would you need another kicker in someone like Valentine Holmes? And then for New South Wales, obviously, Adam Fanua-Blake, huge presence up front, and especially with Payne Haas in the squad now again, those two are going to be an absolute dynamic duo. So yeah, please provide your thoughts. We might do a more dedicated Origin episode in the future once we get closer to Game 3, the decider, if we have a decider, or just a kind of a summary. It'll be interesting. But let's touch on Queensland. Oh, sorry, New South Wales. Who have we got in and out? Now, these are the names I might be able to pronounce a bit more. Our outs, we're looking at Blake Brayley is out, Casey McLean's out, Jacob Saifiti, Matt Burton, and Stephen Crichton. And the people who have come in, Apasai or Apasau, Coruscant, however it's pronounced, his first name, Dylan Lucas, Jack Bostock, Marky Mark, Mitchell Moses, and Payne Haas. Marky Mark, if you don't know who that is the winger from the Roosters with the really long last name that I don't have the guts to attempt to pronounce because I know it's going to be too difficult. But yeah, it is a bit of a change. Obviously, a couple of injuries causing people like Casey McLean and Blake Brayley to be dropped and see some others join in, like Coruscant. But I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be worth it. I think he's going to be motivated. He's going to play well. But let's look at the full lineup. You got Tedesco again at the fullback. I don't think you could have dropped him. I know others might have their opinion of the fact that Dylan Edwards should be in this squad, but I don't think that James Tedesco was going to be dropped after what he did in game one. And I don't. And my food for your thought is I don't think Dylan Edwards would have made that final try catch in game one. I don't think he would have gotten there. I don't think he was going to get the catch or score the try. I think only James Tedesco could have done that. But share your thoughts again. Obviously, Toto in the wing. He's coming towards his big milestone. He only needs one try to be New South Wales all-time scorer, and that's huge for him. You know, I hope we see him score. He's a great bloke, great try scorer, great player, and yeah, I think it'll be good. We got Kolua coming out of injury. He's looking good. He's back in the center. You got Staggs, got Tony Staggs in the center as well. Marky in the wing. Mitch Moses coming in at 5'8". He is starting. Nathan Cleary at the halfback. Payne Harsey at prop. Reece Robson at your hooker. Mitchell Barnett at the other prop. Hudson Young at your second row. Dylan Lucas in your second row. And your captain, Isaiah Yeo, playing the lock. Without interchange being Cam Murray, Victor Radley, Adam Fanua-Blake, Apasai Coruscant, Ethan Strange, and Jack Bostock. Now, here's the interesting thought. Ethan Strange coming off the bench, as he was intended to for game one, if Mitch Moses was not injured. Now, a lot of people loved, including myself, loved how Ethan Strange played in game one. He put together an incredible performance, and I think anyone who is a New South Wales Blues fan was very proud of him. Now, do I agree with him being put to the bench and Mitch Moses put in the squad? I don't think I agree nor disagree. I think I'm kind of neutral because they're both good players. Mitch Moses has proven himself time and time again when Nathan Cleary has been out with an injury. He has come in and done some incredible stuff with his kicking game and some other things. So some people might say that he deserves his starting spot. Others might say, why do we need another kicker when we've got Cleary? Start Ethan Strange. He played better. But obviously with Mitch Moses, he has more of a name under him, more history with New South Wales. So I think he was bound to get that spot back anyways. I think they should play similar minutes in the game, though. I don't think you should be limiting Ethan Strange's minutes. I think he is a high-quality player who deserves to play a decent number of minutes, though, obviously that is not my choice. It's Laurie Daly's choice, but, I'm allowed to share my 10 cents. Payne Haas now into the squad. Pretty cool to see him back. He had a bit of a rough start to the season, but he's really shown up for the Broncos and earned his spot back in the squad. And I'm personally really looking forward to hopefully getting to see him and Fanua-Blake on the field at the same time. They're kind of reminding me of, like, if you've ever seen the movie The Mighty Ducks, they're kind of reminding me of what the Smash Brothers were in that movie. They're just these two big dudes who are just going to absolutely smash some guys when they run at them hard. They're big blokes. They got some real good force behind them, and they're just some great players. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'm looking forward to seeing the whole game in general, to be completely honest. I think we're going to see some incredible, incredible gameplay from both of these teams. And overall, I think they're just going to play very, very well. I think we're going to see some consistency from both teams. We're going to see both teams put together Origin-worthy performances on Wednesday, tomorrow night at 8:05 p.m. I myself am so excited to be watching it, and I hope you guys are excited to watching it too. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Again, my email is info@greatsouthernscoreboard@gmail.com. Feel free to email me there. Comment down below the videos. I will read as many of the comments as I can. Comment below videos, listening, wherever you listen to this podcast. Please comment if you'd like. So I think it's going to be a really great game. And I think there's going to be more conversation that comes around this in the future. I'm going to get some of the people that I'm close with who know quite a fair bit about this as well. I think we can get some really great conversations with them on this show, and I'll bring this show to you guys with some more guests in the future. And especially for you World Cup fans, I do want to do some more dedicated World Cup episode in the future. I don't think I will do it with just the group stage. I think I'll wait till the group stage is done. But as I release episodes, I do want to touch on the World Cup throughout it, because it is quite a significant part of world sport, especially sport in Australia, which is where we at the Great Southern Scoreboard want to focus our attention. But that is all from me today, guys. I am so grateful to have had the opportunity, to have started this channel with you guys and really bring out some incredible chats around the NRL today and the Blues and the Maroons. And obviously a little bit of a chat at the start about the Socceroos and the World Cup. Really looking forward to seeing more about that in the future. So that is all from me. I am Lucas Wads, and this is the Great Southern Scoreboard.